Okay, welcome everybody. It's Kari. I am back after going on a little bit of a break there. Last week I had a guest cancel at the last moment, and the week before I was recording on a different platform and I completely forgot to post it here. But we are back this week. I'm super excited. I've got my guest here ready to join. Let me get her on here. Let's see here. Hello, Coach T. I'm super. You should see an invite there. Perfect. Awesome. Hi, welcome.
Hey, I wasn't sure which page we were going at, so I just jumped on.
Yeah. So far, I have managed to figure this out with people, even though we're all just kind of like winging it over here.
Yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining. I have been looking forward to this all week. I get so excited. I have to remind myself that occasionally I am the host and asking the questions. So
I'm excited. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. Let's have fun.
let's have fun. So first of all, just like to introduce yourself. Let us know who we're talking to today.
So, hey again, everyone. My first name is Tonish. I go by Tonish, but Coach T, because usually people botch up my name. So, but I'm Tonish Morgan. I am a life coach, dream coach, empowerment coach. I just call myself a helper to get people where they want to be and need to be in their life. So,
I love that. Love that, Tonish. I hear you with the name thing as well. That's why I always like to let people introduce themselves because I want us to hear your name, how you would like to have it said. So
that's all right. Thank you. Thank you.
awesome. So I'm excited from what I've heard about your story a little bit here to get into it. I think a lot of people are going to connect with it. But the reason I have these interviews is to have people share their stories of basically when they kind of hit the reset button. They
Hmm.
reach a point in their life and they say, well, this wasn't quite working the way that I thought it was. And you
Hmm.
jumped right on that and said, I've got a story. Let me tell you. So, can you tell us, where does your story begin?
It's funny because I just, in my cross country uh, move, you unpack a lot of stuff that you find and, then pack again. So I found a journal from 2006. And in that journal, I talked a lot about doing the things that I'm doing now, helping people get to where they want to be. Um, I talked a lot in that journal about where I was at the time,
Hmm.
what I was happy about, what I wasn't, where I was finding fulfillment, where I wasn't. And so it probably started before then, but I started like documenting it at that time.
Hmm.
And so fast forward, I started feeling again a bit unsettled, 2019, 2020. And, I'm a big birthday girl. So by my birthday, 2020, I had these plans. I had written them down again and all that other stuff. And then, of course, our infamous COVID hit and it pumped the brakes. And I'm like, but I feel this is the time
Okay.
to, make the changes that I needed to make for me.
Yep.
And so I can't say that there was one particular moment where it pivoted, but there were moments in time that I just was dissatisfied with where I was.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I just want to point out though that I love that you said you found a journal from 2006 because isn't there power in writing things down and actually having that so that you can come back to it at some point? I love that you
It's
said that.
amazing. And I'm not a journaler. Like, I know that's not a word. I make up words all the time. So let me just say that to you. So I'm not someone who just journals and I just write and I share and all that. So for me, it was a book that I was reading and the book would ask questions. And so I was able to write out my questions. But I'm so grateful to your point to have it
Yeah.
because like it's even inspiring me now to use when I'm talking to my clients.
Yeah, it brings us back. It gives us a focus point. Sometimes we get so lost in our journeys, and it's nice to have that little touch point there. So I love that you mentioned that because I'm a big fan of having people write things down. And I'm
I'm a
sure
fan
you
of
as
you
well in
writing it down.
coaching.
I just don't want to.
So I also want to point out though that you said that it's not always like this one clear cut moment where you go, ugh, I've got to make a change. That sometimes it really can be just like a lot of stuff and maybe it's just like a feeling. So can you just tell us a little bit more just about what that feeling, like where were you when that feeling was kind of starting to make some noise or some chatter in your ear, I guess?
So again, I think I started feeling. So I went to a conference in November of 2019, and one of the speakers was really talking to me about what I like, what he saw in me, and just in conversing and things like that, hit the nail on the head. And I'm like, okay, it's now or never.
Mm-hmm.
And my joke is, I'm not as young as I look. So I'm like, okay, I got more days behind me than head, so I better get my butt in gear, right? So that being said, it started around November 2019, and I'm like, now is the time, now is the time, now is the time. And when that hit, um, then COVID hit. I'm like, I'm driving myself bananas because I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I can't talk to anybody. I can't like, I'm like raring to go and I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to begin to write. And so I just started writing things. I'm going to be this. I'm going to do this. Sticky notes all over the place. And then I began to pursue, like, okay, where can I take these classes? What can I do here? Because I was going crazy. I was working from home. I wasn't an essential worker. I'm like, these four walls, I'm either going to be crazier or get crazy. I don't know which one. So that was about it. And around that time, I knew I needed to make my personal changes too, because those were changes that were lurking and it wasn't something immediate. And those were discussions, that I had had with my ex-husband, like, where are we? What are we doing? Where are we going? And we just couldn't seem to be on the same page at the same time on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it was happening at the same time. And it was literally like, I feel like my life depends on this now or never. If I don't do it now, I don't know what's going to happen to me mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
spiritually, physically, psychologically, everything. And I just felt like, summer of 2020 was it.
Yeah. Well, oh man. So I heard two things that hopefully I can remember them both that I want to touch on here that you said. One is that I think it's amazing that you were present enough when all of this was going on to recognize, okay, this quarantine is hitting me hard and I have got to make a change here. And it's not necessarily just because of quarantine. Like quarantine kind of helped you identify other things in your life perhaps that weren't working so well. So I love that you were able to see past the quarantine side of that and really take like a holistic view of what was happening in your life. So good for you for that. That's amazing. But the second thing, and it literally just went out of my brain. It was on the last thing that you just said there. Was about oh man,
Like now or never, my
things
life
were never thing.
depending
Yeah.
on it.
So
Yeah.
what we hear people talk about a lot, or I hear it a lot, is that fear of the comfort zone thing. And so we don't pursue changes because we're worried about what's going to happen. What I heard you say, I think, is that you were worried about what was going to happen to you if you didn't make a change.
Which is, I don't know which is scarier. I don't. I don't because again, years ago, and so I'm a Christian. So I have mentors and I have people who know me. And so years ago, there was a mentor, a minister, friend of mine, and she called me out of the blue. We lived in different states. She even had to call someone to ask for my number. So this is how she became my mentor. So I say that to say she kept saying to me, you're living in the background, but you can't lead from behind. Now, I'm not thinking my journals in 2006. I'm not thinking about my plans to help people. I'm not thinking about all the things that I want to do. I'm thinking of where I was that day. I work, corporate America, mom of three children, wife. um, church responsibilities, community partnerships, all these things, but none of those things were what I was purposed for.
Mm.
And so thinking about even coaching, how can I coach people if I don't tell people I'm a coach?
Right?
How can I tell people that I'm your coach and your cheerleader? That's my tagline. I'm your coach and your cheerleader. How can I do that if I'm not doing it? And so while I was saying, I gotta do it now, I gotta do it now, I was saying, I can't not do it anymore
Yeah.
because that's what I could do my corporate job all day, every day. But the moment somebody called and said, hey, I have a question, or they would refer people,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I could get paid for this.
Yeah. That's
But
right.
more importantly, the fulfillment that I get, the high that I get,
Yeah.
that's the part where it's like someone's light clicks on, and you're like, I'm in my sweet spot. I'm in my zone. This
Yes.
is where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
And the more I did it, the more I couldn't not do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much because you're highlighting there the difference between I can do this job all day long, right? Corporate job, we can do that. I said that before too. I'm like, oh, I can project manage stuff all day. I can do this all day. But then it's like that gap between that and this is what I am purposed to do. This is the thing that truly, when I'm doing it, feels just so amazing. It's like indescribable. And I think that people, they don't necessarily believe perhaps that that's a possibility for them, that they can have fulfilling work like that. So,
Yeah,
oh,
you had something on your page about perfectionism,
yeah.
and I find that people are harder on themselves because either the pursuit of perfectionism or we're beating ourselves up about how imperfect we've been. And I've been on both ends of the spectrum. And so, you get to the point where you're like, listen, if I can do it, anybody can. Seriously. It's like, seriously.
Exactly right. I had another one of my guests said something that I love so much. She said that her passion had to be greater than her fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what drives her
Mm-hmm.
forward. And that's what I'm hearing, sort of a
Mm-hmm.
similar message with you, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I would
Mm-hmm.
rather pursue my passion and in the face of fear of perfectionism and fear of failure and all that, I would rather pursue my passion than be stuck in it. I love that message so much. So.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the challenges that you faced then when you made that transition to now pursue this. What has the journey been like for you?
How much time do you have?
I got all day.
So, the challenge has been, I think for me, the biggest challenge has been the broken relationships that came with a divorce happening at the same time of a move happening at the same time of community partnerships that I left or the church that I left. Because this is the ironic thing, right? I was the person that so many people would call and run things by.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came time for me to make a major decision in my life, because quite honestly, I was the one, stable, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't rock the boat. I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to be where I say I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm still that way. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But the people many of the folks, when it was time to say, this is something I have to do, it was like I could help everybody else with their lives, but nobody believed that I was capable of making a decision for myself.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if people, I'm not speaking for people, but I don't know if some people felt like um, my loss was an impact that they didn't want to see a void in their lives,
Mhm.
or they feared for me because they truly loved me and didn't want to see me, make a decision.
Yeah.
And after being divorced, there's also I call it the reality TV part of my life, right? So, another relationship started shortly after, and so that became a bit of noise too. And it's like, no, this is still my life. I didn't do anything wrong. And if I did, it's still my life. But having all of that happening at the same time and broken relationships, and I'm big on love.
Yeah.
So that almost made me change my mind a couple of times.
Yeah. And that's something, that they tell people is you're going to lose relationships when you level up. When you go on to the next stage of your life, people who aren't ready to move up with you, you're going to leave them behind. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard
Or that you should stop.
or that you should stop. Yeah, exactly.
I was someplace, and so you think of a mountain, and it's like everybody thinks it's really cool to travel up it. Well, not me, but a lot of people think it's cool to, like, let's go hike a mountain. And you might start with 50 people. Yeah, I saw you today. I'm like, what in the world? And I'm the one at the bottom with the snacks and the camera. Like, I
Oh,
got
I'll
you.
freaking go along with me then.
I'm perfect for that. I know my role. And so, but they tell you the higher you go, you'll start to lose people. You might start with 50, and then it's 40, and then it's 30, and then it's 20. And before you know it, by the time you get up top, it might be 5 or less.
Yeah.
And that's our journey in life.
Yeah.
We could start with these community groups and your story, we could start, but the moment you begin to pivot and say, this, I got to do this for me, not for us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. And you mentioned it too with yourself. Is you're there, the person who's reliable, that you're there to help everybody else, and sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. And that can be a challenge in and of itself, just to say, I've got to do this for me, because we might feel a little bit selfish or like feel a little guilty because we're prioritizing ourselves. Sometimes is that something you found that you
I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. Like, I had to do it really fast before I said, because, my nature but my nature is to please people. I'm not a people pleaser, but my nature is to take care of everybody, to make sure people are okay. What do you need? You're having a bad day. How can I fix it? I have a fascination with Wonder Woman. I have her stuff everywhere, seriously. And so that's my thing. And so when I began to fix me, I wasn't broken, but when I began to modify, or as Michelle Obama, become, as I began my process of becoming who I already am,
Mhm.
um, it was different for other people, although I always knew who I was.
Yeah.
But I had not shown that part of me. I hadn't chosen me. And I remember telling my ex-husband years ago, if if I'm choosing you and you're choosing me, who's choosing me? If I'm choosing you and you're choosing me, who's
Yeah.
choosing me? And I'm like, and he's not a bad guy. He's not, I will never bash him,
Yep.
never, like, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
But he just wasn't the husband for me.
Yep.
And when you go through that moment and you say, I gotta be the one to choose me, because if no one else does, I have to.
Yeah.
I have to.
Such a good reminder too. I did it myself, I was divorced years ago, and similar sort of thing. Nothing bad about the person. It's just it's not the right person for me, at least not in this moment in my life, and I've got to take care of me too. And I know people will struggle with that, and
Mhm.
they think that we're hurting people, and it's like, yeah, we're not, though. By taking care of ourselves, we're not hurting other people. They might feel hurt by that action, but we're not hurting other people. We're not harming them in that way.
No,
We
and
gotta,
my ex-husband and I had had a number of conversations.
yeah.
So, whereas it may have looked like it may have looked like it was a fast thing,
Yeah.
because let me tell you how COVID, impacted the divorce process. Let me just tell you 30 seconds, right? So because the courts weren't open
Oh, jeez.
and, you know, they were kind of like, okay, if people want to get divorced, we're not going to force them to keep coming to court. So if there were couples who were amicable or at least agreeable,
Mhm.
let's put it that way, they were like, you could waive the mandatory 90 days, you can waive the court hearing, physical court hearing, you could waive this, you could waive that, you could waive this, you could waive that. So we were like,
Wait,
okay.
check, check, check.
And so, whereas a process could have taken 6 months,
Yeah,
9 months, a year, ours did not take that long.
yeah,
And so, I did not, I met him at 19.
yeah.
So when you talk about, burnout, you don't know who you are at 19, really. And we went through phases where we had family, children stay with us, and we were that couple.
Mm-hmm.
But I was burning out.
Mm-hmm.
I was burning out. Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing, though, I think I heard you say was how you've always been you, but you were now starting to show the real you to other people. And that was something that they were having a hard time with. And I think that's such an interesting thing that you mentioned, that is when we actually do start showing our true selves to people, and they want to say, oh, you've changed. Oh, I don't like this version of you. And it's like, oh, I'm just not living to your image anymore. I'm finally free of that. So how did that feel for you, or what was that moment like when you finally came out and started living in that way?
So ironically, everyone had been telling me, you don't communicate enough. You know, but you should share more, because I would hold everything in and I didn't like conflict. I still don't like conflict. And so growing up not liking conflict and not seeing healthy conflict in my home as a child, it was like, if I don't say anything, it'll die. So let me not say anything and it'll go away. Well, it never goes away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the moment I began to say, this is who I am, I don't like this, or this is what I'd like to do, or this is what I want to do, um, everyone who was saying, well, you don't tell us how you feel. And I'm like, well, now I'm telling you, you don't like it. So it was pretty interesting. It's like, okay, the thing you asked for, you got to be
Yeah,
careful what you ask for.
exactly.
Um,
And it's just, it goes to show that, like, you can't please everybody, right? They're never going to
you
be
can't.
happy.
And the things that I was saying was, well, but I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
Years ago when, it was like I didn't like avocado. And now I'm like, oh my God, guacamole is the best thing ever.
Well, you
Right?
can't have it anymore. I think we banned avocados now.
Did we though?
I
Did we?
think so.
Who's we? The point is, when we begin to speak for ourselves and advocate for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and that's what I tell people in coaching,
Mm-hmm.
you know, stand on a chair, like physically change your posture, because people are not going to take you seriously if you keep doing things the same way. Stand on a chair, you don't have to yell and scream, but get people's attention and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, are you ready to listen to me now?
Yep.
Because there has to be something where people have to begin taking us seriously.
Yep. Yeah. And like you said, we don't know who we are at 19. We might think we do, but we really don't. And you didn't like avocados before, now you love guacamole. Like we're allowed to change too. Like we are allowed to change. And if people are going to be resistant to that, or if they don't like that version of us that's showing up today, then again, you said it, get ready for your circle to shrink if people aren't going to continue to accept who you are as you and allow you that growth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the life cycle of a butterfly. So I waited until I'm 40 plus to get my first tattoo, which is, a butterfly. But it was a statement. It was something that I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna, I've been talking about it for years, and then I had been getting why would you do that? Well, why do you want to do that? And why would you do that? Why do you want to do that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just want to. So so I was like, darn it, I'm getting a tattoo and no one's gonna stop me. But I'm fascinated because of what each stage means. But what I say when I'm teaching is this: each cycle does not get permission to get to the next cycle. They happen automatically.
Good.
It's no way the caterpillar can say, I'm not ready to go to the cocoon. I'm having way too much fun out here right now, crawling around and just eating and shedding my skin.
It's true.
Or in the cocoon, it doesn't say, I'm not ready to see the world yet.
Yeah.
Please, no, it happens without reservation, hesitation, permission. And that's where we have to become comfortable. Like, if I feel it's time to start changing and I check my own moral compass
Mm-hmm.
and I say, yep, this is about the right time, then it is natural for us to continue to become who we are.
Love that. I love that. Oof. Everybody go get a butterfly tattoo.
Don't send me the invoice.
I love that though. That's such a great message is, going with your own instincts and trusting those and not fighting it and being resistant to it and even allowing yourself to move on to the next stage instead of
Mhm.
saying, wait a minute. So, oh, that's so good. I like that so much.
Mm.
Okay, so here's what I think I've heard throughout these conversations. In pandemic quarantine, you were working a corporate job, you quit that to start your own business as a coach, you got divorced, you moved across the country. So all of this just in the last 2 years. First of all, congratulations. That is a lot to handle, a lot of balls you were juggling there and a lot of big, heavy sort of things, or at least they can be. So congrats on that. But so tell us now, where do you feel now compared to where you were before all of that happened, for people who might be worried about making those leaps? What can,
So one correction I will make, and then I'll answer. So I am still working in corporate America. The
oh,
checks
okay.
are so good. I'm not ready to walk away.
Okay. Okay, okay.
And I'm saying that because I'm a safe girl.
Yeah.
I'm not a gambler, so I'm building and
Okay.
I'm having a great time doing that. So I just wanted to say that because that's another ball to juggle,
Hmm.
to your point. But how do I feel now? Honestly, free. I feel liberated. I feel like I am doing what it is I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like if I make a mistake, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, you know.
Hmm.
Um, what do they say? No is a sentence.
Hmm.
So if there's something that I don't want to do, I am able to say, nope, that doesn't work for me. Um, in having conversations with even family members, who I love. But if there's something that my insides don't work well with, I say something. And I say to people, that's not fair. I just, something, you're around family, family's family, right? But I find myself championing for what's right for me. what's right for me. And it may not be the same thing that's right for you. And I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with that too, because there was an old school song and it would say, sweep around your own front door instead of trying to sweep around mine. You can write that down.
I'm good. I'm like, okay, I gotta take notes over here. You can see my
But you know, it's the same thing. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Yep.
You know, it's all those things where it's like, but don't worry about me. If you put as much into your purpose and pursuing who you are and who you're supposed to be, instead of wondering, why am I doing something, or what am I doing, or who told me that, whatever. It's like, pursue the best of you and you won't have time.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. The people who are focusing on everybody else, it's like, who's focusing on you? You know, take care of your own self, and you do not have time to worry about what other people are doing. And that is
Yeah, yeah.
so
I
true.
love it. Sorry. Oh God.
That's so
But
true. But
that,
the word that you said, though, free, that's the same
mhm,
word that I use as well. You know, we got to get
mhm.
to a point of where we feel like we are living our lives freely,
Yep.
because you don't even necessarily realize how restricted and constrained you are until you reach this point. And that's the hard thing to share with people, right? Is you don't know how restricted things are until you feel the freedom.
And correct,
Hmm.
correct. And I think, you know, in many cases, you know that there's something better out there. You may not know what it is. You may not be able to label it. You may not have a title, but you just know. And then when you experience it, you're like, I knew it, but I didn't know it would feel like this.
Yeah.
I knew, but I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like when you know, to be very surface, you know, you could have someone who didn't have a lot of money and then they get a lot of money and they're like, whoa, the world opens up for them,
Yeah.
right? Um, Similarly, it's like the world just opens up and you walk around with this liberation that I really, it's not about I can do whatever I want to do, but it's I can do, I can be, I can become.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a good spot to just say, I mean, where do you go from there? Because that's exactly it. I can do, I can be, I can become. That is amazing. You should put that on a sweatshirt and
T-shirt, got it.
it's so good. But it's so true too. And it's just that, yeah, just a breath of fresh air to know that you can kind of you've retained that authority over your life to be able to make those decisions and do it because of it's what feels right for you and what you want to do, and not because you're just trying to survive or just trying to get by. And I think that's a message that's great to repeat to people, that it is possible to live your life in that choosing mode. I think
Yeah.
that's a great message.
And I think, thank you. And I know we're closing, but you know, people are in the middle of that, making a decision about divorce or not, making a decision about, you know, walking away from a job or not. You know, there were signs. There were signs all along.
Right.
Even with some of the people in the broken relationships, there were signs.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to people who might be in the middle of those decisions, you know, while I'm not going to bash my ex-husband, it was not the right relationship for me. And I had to get to the point where I was okay saying it out loud,
Mm-hmm.
because saying it out loud meant that thing now lives.
Yeah.
And leaving And going cross country where I didn't know anyone but one person was hard.
Hmm.
And people thought I was crazy.
Hmm.
And people didn't understand. And I said, but I'll bet on me all day long.
Oh yeah.
I love basketball. I'm like, I was a cheerleader. I didn't play, but I love it. But give me the ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to score. I bet on me. In my game, this is my game. I will bet on me
Yeah.
every time.
Yes, I love it. Oh gosh.
So,
One of our listeners here said this has been so good. I'm like, I agree. And I'm like I said, I'm over here.
I know her. Hi.
I just like nod along sometimes. I'm like, this is so good. Wait, I gotta pay attention because I'm still this has
Yeah.
been so good, and you're absolutely right. The signs are there all along. One thing I do want to say, I love how you said that though, that this relationship isn't right for me, because I talk a lot about alignment language, because I
Hmm.
think, it removes the blame, it removes the guilt and the shame that comes with things when we simply just say this doesn't align for me. It's just not right for me right now. Um, and to be able
Yeah.
to say that though is
Yeah. In the church, they getting divorced in the church. Good Lord, what is wrong with me? So that I faced so much, and I'm not, I will never bash the church.
yeah,
That's not what I'm saying. But people have a perception of us, and they expect us to live up to that, but they don't know what's happening inside the homes,
yeah,
and that's family, and those of us who have older family members, and it's like you're getting divorced, and it's like, oh, good Lord, auntie, like. And I'm not the first one. Come on, you know. So, but it's all of that weighs, and so again, alignment is right, and I'm not suggesting that we take the easy way out and quit,
right.
because there are relationships that require us to work hard at them,
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm big on balance. Like, you got to know what you're supposed to be doing
Yep,
and then do that.
exactly right.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, oh, no, no, just keep on going. We'll just keep going. I'll keep recording. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll do it again.
I sure will.
Oh, this was so good. I appreciate you so much for coming on here and just like I'm gonna have to listen to this again and take all my notes on the things that you said, because there were just so many good messages, and I really appreciate you sharing your story and talking to me and having this talking to the guests who are gonna watch it now and watch it live or later on replay. So so good though. I was like I said, I'm over here just like nodding along. This is so good.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Well, okay, last thing then here is your opportunity here. Go ahead, tell us how we can support you, what we can do. To whoever is listening, use my platform. Go ahead, talk away, talk yourself up. Go for it.
Well, again, I am a coach, life coach. I have an event coming up 2/22/22. If you're interested, please DM me. I will send you the registration details. It is called The Pursuit of Me. And what we're doing is talking about that very thing, how to talk about who you are versus what you do, how to give yourself permission not just to dream, but to do. So I really want to start helping people get those ideas and dreams and plans from their head into working them out so they become the reality. So what's stopping you? What is hindering you? Is it your past? Is it the people? Is it, all the nouns, the person, place, and thing? Um, so that's what I'm having that on 2/22/22. But I have a website, www.dreamsinvisions.com. I'm on all the other social media platforms. I am Coach T or Tonish, or look for me. I'm happy to help, happy to talk.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again, everybody. Go give Tonish a follow, Dreams and Visions Messenger, get into that 2/22/22 course. So that sounds like an excellent program. So thanks again for joining me. And you'll see this video. It'll be on my page here shortly. I'll have that posted for everybody to watch it on replay.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks so much.
Bye bye.